Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back with a brand new What If. This is What If Deku had a ritual quirk, and I want to say first off, shout out to the boy Master Elite. He's been around for I don't even know how long. I mean, borderline basically when I started the channel. I mean, he's been around for a very, very long time. Been a really awesome person. That I met through YouTube, obviously as a subscriber and stuff like that. He's a cool dude, and he gave me one of these suggestions, or this suggestion specifically. He gave me quite a bit of suggestions. Frankly, it is kind of his thing where he drops a ton of different suggestions throughout the time I have been on YouTube. But with that said, I don't want to waste much more of your time. This is part 1 of 2 of this series. As always, though, check the links in the description for the Discord, for the Spotify, for the membership, if you guys want to check that out as well. I don't want to waste much more of your time, though. I want to get right into it, so let's get it. Izuku Midoriya is not your normal Izuku Midoriya, because this version of Izuku is far from the all might loving, want to stand in the pit of fire, facing off with enemy after enemy, saving as many people as possible. This version of Izuku Midoriya, he's a little different. This version of Izuku Midoriya is someone who wants to help, but wants to help in ways that are a little bit unorthodox. And it all started when he gained his quirk. His quirk was something else, something different, something that he didn't even realize had borderline limitless potential, because his quirk was very support heavy. His quirk allowed him to create these rituals, or these kind of settings that he would basically utilize different dances, different abilities, different words, different kind of symbols, and different things like that to create different circumstances. And when he did that, when he was just messing around and he was doing this and he was writing different little things on the ground surrounding a small sandcastle at around the age of 4 to 5 years old, out of nowhere, the sandcastle would grow into a actual sized sandcastle, or like a castle, but it's completely made of sand, like a big one. And it's pretty damn insane. Izuku would be thinking like, whoa, this is awesome. Like, I can create so many awesome things and blah, blah, blah. And that's the case. I mean, he could turn Hot Wheels cars into actual cars, working functional cars, as long as he understands the proper kind of ritual to create it. But in all honesty, he doesn't know a ton. He has to do a ton of studying. I mean, a ton of studying to figure out different things and different ways to approach different kind of situations, and also different kind of creations. And that's what Izuku kind of starts doing. He starts approaching things in a different and interesting way, you could say. It starts with sand castles and maybe even making different foods and creating more of a said food, maybe creating more of something else, even to the point where Izuku is able to multiply, do a ritual to multiply a ton of different these very expensive this very expensive necklace that his mother had, multiplying it and making them a ton of money from it. Izuku essentially knows different ways to create and or kind of replicate different items, but also replicate things in different ways, from making things bigger to making things smaller to making more of something, or to even making less of something. These are all things that Izuku has worked with and all things that Izuku has messed with, but the answers to how they exactly work and how exactly Izuku gets to the point of being able to utilize the ritual is something that is still up in the air for him. I mean, yes, he kind of understands how to do these things, but he never understands every aspect, right? He doesn't know every little thing of how it happens, but he does have to do it a couple times, and then eventually, as he's older and older and older, he has full-fledged working system in his book. Like in his hero handbook, he has full-fledged working rituals that he knows of. Ones that make things bigger, things smaller, increase or multiply things, makes things less, makes things more full, makes things less full, and so on and so forth. But there are other rituals that are out there, and he continues studying. studying not only the chemical and or chemical equations of different things, from things that involve kind of different explosions, fire, water, anything you could really think of. Izuku is really wanting to figure out what these things can attribute to making his rituals work properly. And he wonders if there's a way for him to truly make a ritual with just the thoughts in his own mind. Now, doing that is kind of out of the ballpark, at least at this moment, but it is something he's thought about. But there's one person only that he's actually thought about working with in terms of a ritual, and that is Katsuki Bakugo. But Bakugo never allows him to do anything. Never allows him to basically work with him. Never allows him to, see if he can, make him stronger, make him hit harder, make him do anything. He won't let Bakugo do any of the sorts. And Izuku's thinking like he just wishes that he had a friend that had a quirk that would allow him to try these things out, that would allow him to try and figure out if he could really make the person stronger, if he could make their quirk even better, if he can do something. And he thinks about this. He genuinely thinks about this and wonders if somebody would basically be that type of friend for him to do those things with. Eventually, though, Izuku would run into somebody who seems pretty damn cool, and honestly pretty damn cool with the idea of him utilizing his quirk in such way. Izuku would be just walking down the streets, and he would see somebody who would jump in the defense of these three girls that are standing there, or was about to jump in the defense of them. And this person, well, he would be completely locked in, looking at this giant monstrous person or creature. And Izuku would go over as the guy was about to stand up for the girls, but some pink girl is actually standing up for the girls instead, forcing the monster to just move away and leave without saying another thing. And this person, Izuku would eventually walk up to him and talk to him, and this person would be Kirishima. He would introduce himself as Izuku Midoriya, and Kirishima would obviously introduce himself as well. And they would talk for a bit, and Izuku talks about how it was still going to be a very valiant, or a very chivalrous and valiant thing that he was going to do to stand up for those girls. But just because he didn't get the chance doesn't mean he's not a good person. In which, of course, they have a bit of a conversation about it, and Izuku talks about his quirk. They talk about, Kirishima's quirk, and eventually Kirishima is like, I would love for you to, try something out. Maybe you can make me stronger, and what's the worst that can genuinely happen? In which Izuku says, really nothing. He's not going to be able to really hurt Kirishima, and nothing wrong's going to necessarily happen, and most things that he knows of, he can just reverse them, at least to an extent. He can just change it, in which, of course, they do start experimenting. Nothing insane. He's not going to, just go head first into something that he has no idea and no clue what's going to happen. But he does work with Kirishima over the course of multiple years, learning about his quirk, how it works, and also just what it does. And Izuku would be able to enhance Kirishima. It would take a very long time for him to learn everything in every aspect, but one day he would write all the right runes, all the right symbols, all the right things, all the right words, and speak all the right languages, or all the right, words that he needs to speak. And eventually, Kirishima can feel it, that he's stronger, he's faster, he's everything. His quirk, his hardening quirk, is not only more durable, but it allows him to create different aspects of his body even better than he ever has before. AKA, he could make blades out of his arms basically with his sharp kind of with his or his hardening quirk, and he seems to be able to actually take more damage. He seems to be able to grow even grow in potential even faster with his hardening quirk, and or kind of his durability like quirk. And this is insane. And he tells Izuku, with this, he has every single chance to get into UA. Every single chance, every single opportunity. He's going to do amazing things. And that right there, he can't ever pay him back for that. He gives Izuku a hug, and he tells Izuku that right now, yes, he may not look like he can get into UA, that Izuku can't, be that next big hero, but he can do so much more than he could think. He could be a support hero. He could be a hero that supports other heroes and be a hero that helps those in need, just not the usual way. In which Izuku nods his head, shakes Kirishima's hand, and as time would go on, as Izuku would get notice of UA and stuff like that, he would eventually not actually try to get into the hero portion, or the normal version of the UA entrance exam. He would try to get in via the support portion. And this is something he really held on to because of the one and only Kirishima. Because Kirishima really believes that Izuku has all the potential in the world to be the greatest support hero anyone has ever freaking seen. And honestly, who's going to say otherwise? Because Izuku continues to work with his craft, work with what he has. He writes down everything, writes down ideas, from Bakugo to people with, Bakugo's explosion quirk, to people with fire powers, from people with this or that or this or that. He writes down everything. He tries to figure out what these people's powers could really do, and if he could really boost them to the degree that he knows he can boost them. That's what he's trying to do. That's what he's trying to figure out. And that is what he will figure out. And that is hands down Izuku's greatest gift here, is that his ability to really fulfill the desires of what these quirks really need is something that he really is into. He wants to figure out what makes these quirks more powerful. What will make these quirks more powerful? What does he have to do? What does he have to do to really awaken these people? What does he have to do to awaken the potential of every last person? What does he have to do to awaken the potential of every singular quirk? And that is his goal. Now, off the rip, I will say this just nonetheless. Izuku is in a bit of a spot, right? He gets told by his teacher and many others, now he knows everyone wants to be a hero, blah, 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 and the only person that actually wants to be a support hero is Izuku Midoriya. And Bakugo makes fun of him, saying yeah, of course he would, and blah, 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 and yeah, I mean, he couldn't do anything else, so of course he would have to become a support hero, in which Izuku looks at him and says, he can't believe he even tried to help him. He can't believe he tried to even help Bakugo with the way he treats others and the way he talks to not only himself but other people, belittling them day in and day out. And frankly, he's glad he wasn't able to help him, and glad that he wasn't able to increase his overall potential as a fighter, in which that is the reality for Izuku. Izuku really feels this way, but of course Bakugo is pissed to hear this and even kind of destroys part of his hero handbook, the book that he has all of the rituals, all of these things within it that allow him to do so many amazing things. This would piss Izuku off. Izuku would be angry, so angry that he would even question himself, wondering that maybe he could put some sort of spell, some sort of ritual spell on Bakugo, get rid of his quirk entirely. And Izuku thinks about this for a second and then thinks, you know what? I can't stoop to his level. I can't do it. I just can't. Because if I did, I wouldn't be any better than him. In which this would lead Izuku to pick up the notebook, clean it off, and get on to the very next. And before you know it, he'd be walking underneath that bridge and being attacked by the sludge villain. Sludge villain would attack, but guess who's there to save him? All Might. All Might comes out of nowhere and saves Izuku. Saves Izuku from certain death, let's be honest, and saves Izuku in general. And, well, he would actually get a chance to talk to All Might, get an autograph, of course, and stuff like that. And Izuku says that he wants to be a hero, like All Might, sort of. He just wants to have the effect, the ambition, the ability. He wants to really to show people that even being a support hero, you can be one of the top heroes. You can be one of the best, in which All Might sits there and he thinks, this kid wants to be a support hero, but he wants to be known and seen as one of the best heroes. And he looks at him and he says, I don't know if that's going to happen, kid. I don't know. But I want you to listen to this. Support heroes, they're just like everyone else, just like any other hero you can think of. Some of them even greater, but a lot of them don't get the credit they deserve. So yes, you may be going into a circumstance that, let's be honest, a lot of people would turn down. A circumstance that you don't get glory, you don't get fame, you don't get credit. But you will know, the people around you will know, and the people who really matter will know that you deserve all the credit in the world as long as you're that good. He would tell the kid that he has to go now and he can't speak much longer, but he would jump off, and Izuku's just absolute want and desire to be the best in terms of being a support hero is now lifted off the ceiling. He's excited. He wants more. He wants to do better, and he wants to show everyone that he truly can be the greatest support hero, and everybody will acknowledge him as such. And he continues to train, get better. He continues creating, and he would kind of start looking at other heroes' quirks, right? From All Might to Endeavor to Hawks to Sir Night-Eye to all the top heroes, Mirako, and we could keep going on, Gang Orca, Fat Gum, every last one of them. He's thinking, he's analyzing, and he's figuring every last one of them out. That's what he wants to do, and he's trying to really, really dedicate himself to doing this, and eventually his day for the UA entrance exam would come, but it would be a little bit different than you would expect. It's a support course. It's a support practical type of course, and it all starts with him having to create something that would allow him to basically destroy certain things and show off certain things. And he first off admits that he's not your traditional support hero. And even Power Loader, who is currently observing this, is wondering, what does this kid mean? Not your typical support hero, not your typical run-of-the-mill support hero, in which he would show them exactly what he means, because he would put down a small, little car, like a Hot Wheels car, and he would create a ritual, and then when he would spike his staff into the ground, it would grow in size to a regular car, and everybody would sit there in shock and awe. And then he would do the same thing to med kits and medical supplies, multiplying it by the hundreds. And everybody would watch this and see the piles of medical supplies that would last them borderline for the rest of his 3-year kind of situation or kind of career at UA. And this would shock everybody. They would think, whoa, this isn't normal. This isn't something that many of us thought would come through here day in and day out. And yes, there are versions of people that create things, can create things like your Momo Yaoyorozus, who they would eventually meet or know of to a certain extent. But this is different. The way he creates them, the way he approaches it isn't the same. And he doesn't seem tired. He doesn't seem exhausted. And he just multiplied a med kit by 100 times. And eventually this would lead to a lot of different teachers, including Shota Aizawa, speaking with him, talking to him about what he wants from this, what does he want to do, and how does he want to be a hero. And again, he says it. I want to be the greatest support hero to ever live. I want to be someone that makes everyone so much better that they acknowledge me as one of the best heroes to ever live. In which Aizawa would look at this kid and think, I like it. I like it a lot. Now, normally he would say, I want you to join Class 1A. But of course, Aizawa knows that this kid, he seemingly doesn't feel like he is ready for a situation regarding, actual hero front of the line work. Now, could he possibly be in that stance? Could he eventually get to that point where he has the right utility, the right mentality, and also the right ability? Sure, Izuku could definitely do it. But he thinks that if Izuku believes that he could be the greatest support hero, you should allow the kid. Don't force the kid into a circumstance he's not comfortable with and he's not knowing of. So keep him where he is, keep him aligned, and it will help people every step of the freaking way. And this would allow him to get into the support course, and this support course, well, it would be flipped on its head, because Izuku well, he would be out of the norm. I mean, he wouldn't be creating things the way other people create things. Your Mei Hatsumes, your other support heroes who create different items, create different things, and just create different inventions, Izuku doesn't do that. He writes down in his journal different rituals, different things he could create, and or different spells he could sort of like cast. Of course, these are like from dances to like calligraphy type of thing, or like, you know, glyphs, right? You could even say. And Izuku would do all these things, and he would help quite a bit. I mean, if Mei Hatsume needs like certain things and certain items when they first meet, of course, Izuku is able to multiply them and do stuff like that, which is definitely helpful. And I think everybody at UA is very grateful in every regard in terms of that. And a lot of stuff that Izuku does early on is involving that. But when Izuku is actually sent to watch a lot of these other students do their heroes versus villains training, this is the time where he starts really writing things down. The entirety of Class 1A is right in front of him, and he watches closely. Very, very closely. And you might be wondering, or a lot of people might be wondering, why? Why is he watching so intently? He's watching various heroes from Bakugo to Todoroki to his buddy Kirishima to even heroes like Asui, Ashido, Aoyama, Ochako Uraraka, Tenya Ida, Kaminari. So many of them, he's staring them down. But the first thing he starts with in his own head is weakness. What is weakness? What he did with Kirishima was off the charts. It was off the charts. It basically made it so his hardening quirk, it didn't drastically drain his stamina. It didn't drastically make it so he would slowly but surely kind of, not be able to defend / protect people the way he wanted to. He gave Kirishima a leg up that he told, by the way, he would tell Aizawa this, and Kirishima would even tell Aizawa this. The leg up that obviously Izuku was giving him. And Aizawa did think about this for a little bit and asked, don't you feel this is like a shortcut? And in which Izuku says, no, it's not like a shortcut, because he awakened the potential in Kirishima. Don't get me wrong. Yes, it did boost him in power, boost him in potential, and boost him in his kind of floor, right? His bottom line. But it doesn't mean he can't work towards something greater. It just uncapped the cork. It just you unscrewed the top, and it made it so that he had the potential of the sky itself. He could go to the moon with this. And which, of course, Aizawa hears this and thinks, that's really interesting. That's really interesting, actually. And there's many other heroes here that could definitely use that help. For starters, Izuku is asked to work with someone by the name of Denki Kaminari, because Kaminari has a tendency of frying his brain just a little bit too much, in which Izuku does mess with the idea of lightning, electricity, and also different things, and he tries and practices different rituals, and eventually he would have the time to do so. A couple days after the Heroes vs. Villains training, Izuku would sit with Kaminari and basically help him out, telling him to sit still and don't move, and don't do anything stupid. He would draw his glyphs around him. His words would have been said, and different things, different ideas, and different measures. And he would then awaken Kaminari, and boom, there it was. Kaminari can feel power surging, but feels a control that he's never had before. And Izuku tells him to do something for him. Oh, that's what I want you to do. Over there, I want you to shoot electricity as much as you can right at that target. In which Kaminari says, well, he's going to go, a little bit, a little stupid if he does that. In which Izuku shakes his head and says, just do it. Which Kaminari does it. And, well, not only is it very accurate, well, on top of that, he's not even feeling the effects of being stupid and being dumb. Like his brain is all scrambled and he's in shock. You're kidding me. This is insane. I mean, you got rid of like the limitations, or you got rid of the bad things that happen when I use it. In which Izuku nods his head and says to keep training it though. You can hone it even greater and become an even stronger wielder of that power. And he tells him that if he's not careful with the way he uses it and the way he trains it, it could get out of hand for himself again. So make sure to stay focused and stay training day in and day out. Which Kaminari, in this kind of like new awakening, he's all up for it. He thinks this is great. And him and Kirishima are in the same line and same idea of what, in terms of an awakening, they could possibly do. And Izuku does this with just one of the students. And I think we can all agree that almost every last one of them would be wanting even more for basically Izuku to do this for them as well. But of course, he needs time. And he gets a very, very good kind of explanation of every last one of their quirks. From Aoyama to Momoya Yorozu to Mineta to literally every single person there. He would get a decent kind of amount of information, and you would get a decent amount of breakdown of what their quirks do and what they can do. And these are just things that basically he needs to eventually get to the point where he feels like he can awaken them and create them into an even greater user of their own quirk. But before he could even do that, before he can make these other people be even stronger, even more powerful, and step up their game to an even higher degree, something would happen. Something scary. And that is the League of Villains invading. The League of Villains invading the USJ, and Izuku being unable to really do anything, obviously, because he's literally just in the school. But luckily enough, with Kirishima and Kaminari being a little bit more superpowered, and also, the other students being, working a little bit harder and stuff like that, and the arrival of All Might, luckily enough, they're able to at least survive, stop the villains to an extent. But even with that said, Shigaraki and also Kurogiri would leave, get away, and they would be unable to capture them, but they're left with a Nomu. A single Nomu that has them questioning what they should truly do. But with that said, Izuku, he's really thinking about what he can do to make sure that none of this happens again. And he begins to study some of the highest level heroes to ever exist. But also another thing that he is thinking about is working with All Might himself. And he talks to All Might, speaks with him, and they talk and get along decently, especially because they also talked before. And he asks All Might, and he tells him that he senses something from All Might. Senses a power that seems to not only be insanely off the charts, but a power that seems to be fading. A power that seems to be going away. And he wonders, why is that? Has he been hurt? Is it a power that is, has its limitations been torn off? What's wrong with it? What's going on? In which All Might would stop, and he would question the kid, asking him, how did he know? How would he know? And Izuku says that he has a connection with quirks now. It's odd. It's hard to explain. But a connection that he never understood until now. He can see it. He can feel it. These embers that still burn bright, but these embers that slowly but surely are being extinguished. And he wonders, is it because of an injury, or is it because of something else? In which All Might says he can't give full, kind of attention to it or full explanations of it. But yes, he's been hurt massively, in which Izuku tells him to stop. Listen, I could heal you. I don't know what it is, how long it was, but I'm pretty sure I can. I've been working on something for a very long time now, and it's not 100% ready, and it still needs to be tested, but it's something that would basically heal whatever wounds ever existed within the body. In which Izuku says that he's training with it and been working with it and thinking like, if he wants to be the greatest support hero ever, I mean, you got to start with healing, right? So almost every single aspect of a hero's journey is getting hurt. So healing is always a big deal. In which he tells All Might he might be able to do it. In which All Might says, if he can, that'd be amazing. but he's not going to hold his breath because the kid has a lot of work to do, and he doesn't want him focusing on All Might or on himself. In which Izuku says, no. Don't think of it like that. Think of it like it's just another step to be me being the greatest support hero alive. He smirks a little bit and he waves All Might off and says he'll see him soon, and it'll probably be, after the UA Sports Festival or something like that, in which Izuku starts getting to work, working hard, trying different different symbols, different words, different situations, different everything, different places, everything you can think of. Izuku's trying it all, trying every last thing, and eventually he would get it. He would get just enough to where he thinks that this right here is something that would work. It just might take a couple of times for it to fully restore whatever injury All Might is talking about. And of course, he does watch the UA Sports Festival, gets a hold of, just watching Kirishima, Kaminari, the people that he's worked with personally, and even watches Kirishima get a win over Bakugo because of the leg up that he has already been given and the potential that has basically been unlocked through Kirishima. So the reality is, Kirishima could even step up to the plate with some of the more naturally born strength given quirk users like Bakugo and even Todoroki, and it's a pretty damn awesome thing to watch. And it's a pretty damn awesome thing in general to check out. And Izuku watches them go through the UA Sports Festival, watches everything unfold, and basically would go on to eventually being in kind of regards with a part of the UA Sports Festival. He decided to kind of opt out of it. He believes that there's really no reason for him to be in it, but this was a good chance for him to try out his healing abilities with his different rituals, in which he heals some of the students there, to a certain extent, if they're hurt, if they're not hurt, whatever you could think of. So he helps out Recovery Girl to a large extent, and this would allow him to get a little bit more time understanding and a little bit more time to really master what he's trying to do for All Might. And eventually that day would come, and he would stand in front of All Might, gather his circle, and he would begin saying these words that, well, let's just say All Might didn't really even understand to a large extent, but symbols would begin to glow. These green-like symbols would begin to glow, and it would begin to sparkle and spark everywhere as the green like little particles would float up and begin to cover All Might entirely, and then cover the spot that was injured so badly. And Izuku would then stop and then take one knee. He would be exhausted, realizing that yes, a lot of this normally doesn't take the wind out of him, but healing seems like it does. And All Might says that there's a reason why it did, because he lifts up his shirt and he shows that there's still a gash there in the horrible injury he had, but it's almost gone. And he tells Izuku that this was 20-30 times worse than he's seeing now, and all it probably will take is just one more go at it and he'll be healed fully. In which Izuku nods his head and says that he just needs a little bit of a break and they'll be right back on it. And after one little break, drink some water, relax, take a second, take a breath, and eventually Izuku heals him once again, takes his knee once again, exhausted, and collapses to the ground. Not out cold, don't get me wrong, but he's just tired. And it would lead to All Might, the #1 hero, being back in tip-top shape, but in all reality, without the quirk of One for All, only holding on to the embers that are there. But Izuku struggles to his feet and says that he understands now. He sees it. He sees it all. He tells All Might that he knows about One for All. He knows about everything. He was spoken to. He's not sure who they are. It was just little glimpses, but he knows that it's there, and he wonders he might be able to recreate it, copy it, and bestow it once again within him. In which All Might's like, are you serious? Like, I don't know if that's how that works. I don't think it will work that way. In which Izuku says he's not sure either. He's not. But it might just work. Maybe. Izuku takes some time to really he literally sits there with All Might for hours, hours, and he's just saying certain words, saying certain phrases over and over and over again. And eventually, All Might could feel the power surge through his body once again. And Izuku, well, he would sit there, open his eyes, and he would laugh a little bit, saying that those people, all those people within him, you know, the vestiges and the past users, they're very nice. Very, very nice people. Good people, in fact. And he tells All Might that he was able to somewhat copy them. Not necessarily fully, but it will give him more time as a hero and give him more power to work with. In which All Might's in shock. His eyes grow wide and he can't believe it that Izuku was able to do something along these lines. And Izuku would struggle to stand up, and he would tell All Might that it's truly his pleasure. Just make sure to tell people what he did. And as he was about to laugh, Izuku would pass out from exhaustion, and All Might would catch him and immediately bring him to Recovery Girl. And Izuku would, you know, take some, let's just say, bed rest, because he definitely needs it, because it took a hell of a lot out of him to not only heal All Might, but enhance All Might once again, giving him a kind of pseudo copy of One for All. And Izuku would lay dormant within his bed for days on end, but he still has a lot of work to do, a lot of things to get done, and a lot of people to get stronger, and a lot of people to get better. Because in his mind, when the entirety of the classes, when the top heroes grow in strength, and it's all because of him, he borderline can say that he is the catalyst to some of the greatest heroes alive. But Izuku has so many more to work with, so many more people to talk to, and so many more to really make understand that the powers he holds, the strength he has, and the things he can do can truly take everyone to the next level. So his journey of being this support hero is not over just yet. But this is the end of part 1 of 2 of What If Deku Had a Ritual Quirk. And if you enjoyed, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, like I said, do all those things. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.